EMS, energy management system, based on our optimization, sizing, and storage capabilities. I will be leading the next part. We will begin with the panel, followed by Q&As, and wrap up with questions from the audience. I would like to thank the organizers, added by Energy Box and FAN, to thank the speakers and all of you for joining today. By 2030 is about 2 gigawatts of storage calculated to be required to meet those targets. Indeed, an ambitious target. I'm happy to introduce some of the industry's biggest players today and to hear directly from them how they foresee the future of storage in Israel. We have both energy companies representative, financing perspective, energy developers, and energy startup. So without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker for today, Ronnie Brandes, Senior Director, Project Led Procurement at Doral Energy. Doral has just announced yesterday a financing agreement of 3.5 billion NIS shekels led by Mizrahi Tefachot Bank for solar projects combined with storage. Ronnie, after winning 40% of the PV plus storage market in Israel, can you walk that leading the PV and storage global and procurement at Doral? Thank you. Ronnie, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you everyone for joining. And I would like to take you all through the process that we went in Doral from winning the PV plus storage tender, about 40% of the Israeli market 2.5 years ago, to current execution of large-scale projects. So it's a very high-level steps. Each one of them, behind each one of them, is a lot of. Initially, we started with a win of 100 megawatt in tender number 1 and 200 additional megawatt in tender number 2. This means 500 megawatt of DC and about 1.5 gigawatt hour of overall procurement needs. We needed to figure out how utility scale storage work. Who is the players in the market? How to build an energy model with storage and PV together to decide all kind of and answer all kind of questions about AC and DC ratios, AC or DC coupling. And we consulted international advisors, building up economical models and choosing financing advisors, lawyers RFQ, since this is a new terrain for the Israeli market for everyone. Building EPC and O&M templates so we can close agreements really easily with the EPC contractors. Inventing the EPC compensation formula for not meeting PR with PV plus storage instead of just PV. Procurement template agreements for storage. Storage RFQ for 20 companies. How to compare storage offers. This is a very difficult issue. It's not as easy as in PV, for instance. How does each solution affect the cost of EPC works? Negotiate storage procurement, long-term operation of PV plus storage, and then Corona hit us, and the transportation costs went up tenfold. Module prices went up out of the roof. Lithium prices go up, and interest rates goes up, and together, this is a combination that the Israeli market never seen before, that from bidding or from winning to the execution, all the prices in the market goes on the wrong direction. We also have seen, due to the corona delay in grid surveys in Israel and delay in all the regulation process. But eventually, we got first grid connection surveys against the regulation with no grid during the day. This is a unique situation to handle in the phase of such a big tender. Long delay in IEC response time, EPC contract PV and the EPC for storage to decide if we want one EPC or two EPC for the projects. Division of responsibility between the parties, how to do it, warranty duration and content on storage, augmentation plan. Agrivoltaic projects, we are going to have in this process also building several utility scale agrivoltaic projects that include storage, which is quite unique, I think even global wise. Decide on the procurement strategy. We are becoming significant buyer in the global level, so we need to adjust to this position as well. Planning a system that can work when you build 20 sites in parallel, something that I doubt if was done in Israel before. Hiring efforts, so the human resources effort here is also significant. Teaching, we need to teach all the new hirings. Market regulation that is changing all the time. Financing strategy to decide, and as Noah said, we are first. We need to learn here the same, to be the first here as well. Choosing owner, technical advisor, and LTA, and the new financing dilemmas that arise with the PV plus storage combination. And eventually we have partners that we need to manage, partners that have land, the land owners. So we are now facing grid shortage. First PV plus storage to go on commercial operation by Doral is already in commercial operation, the first project from this tender. First O&M issues that we face with this project. First PV plus storage financing for feed-in tariff projects, and first PV plus storage financing for market regulation. And eventually we have a huge logistics with a lot of equipment that is coming to Israel for our projects. And we continue the procurement efforts during this, all these doings. And face a huge organizational growth. So this is a very, like, taking you step by step on all the efforts that is still going on in Doral. And that's it basically on a very short description of the process.
Thank you, Ronnie. Okay, so from an investment perspective, there are key factors infrastructure investment at Menorah Miftachim Group. Roy, if you can please tell us about your role at Menorah and how do you assess the profitability of the project and what?
Sure. So first, thank you for having me here today. I'm Roy Brillant. I'm the head of the infrastructure team in Menorah Group. Menorah, for the ones who are not familiar with Menorah, is one of the 5 biggest insurance company in Israel, and it's also the biggest pension fund in Israel, with the total AUM of about 300 billion shekels. Our team, our infrastructure team, is responsible for all non-tradable infrastructure investments. A few years ago, Menorah made a very smart move and set up a professional team, professional unit for the specific field of infrastructure. This unit, my team, is responsible for all debt investment, equity investment, and fund investment in Israel and abroad. This unique structure is really unique in the Israeli market. I think it's for sure the first one, and probably not the last one. It gives us the strength and to be focused on specific allocation in the whole portfolio of all Menorah portfolio. It gives us the ability to be diversified and different mind and approach to deals. We are looking at deals from bottom to the top to see what is the best place for us to be in these investments. I think that more than once we got into a room for a debt investment, and we got out from the room with an equity investment, or both debt and equity, and of course the opposite. I think that it lets us to be much more, or let's say the opposite. It doesn't, this structure give us the freedom to look at the market, see the opportunities with everything that's going on with the macro, of course, as all of you know, and we are able to choose to see the most attractive deals and go with them. Either if it's, we can say in the last 3 years when the interest rates were more or less around 0. So we were a little bit more pro to core infrastructure investments in the equity side. And these days when the interest rates went up, so I think that we see much more great opportunities in the debt sector. So we move where we see the opportunities in the market. So that's just a few strengths about our structure. If I want to give you a little bit a short sense about how is infrastructure investments looks like. So first, it starts with screening hundreds of opportunities a year. I think we get to see about 30 billion shekels potentially investments a year. Obviously, most of it we have to say no. Over 90% of it is just getting a no-go in the first DD. Once we get to like an investment, we started to DD and the approval process. This process is really long. It can take between 4 to 12 months. We always have an extensive team with lawyers, all kind of different professional advisors, technical advisors, financial advisors, to help us and to get another view at the deal. Some deals are based on exit between 4 to 7 years, but some investments are for 20, 25 years and more. So it's a really different approach to each one. Ticket size for Menorah, I think it's about 300 to 800 million shekels. So every deal, it's really big. The DD is really long, and it's take a massive time and from our side. So that's in a nutshell about us.
Thank you, Roy. Very interesting. Okay, I'm happy to introduce our next speaker, which is a young entrepreneur who has built an energy company and running projects locally and globally. Please welcome Daniel Beaton, owner of EDI Energy. Daniel, if you can elaborate on building an energy company and what are EDI's biggest challenges and opportunities, and also whether it is similar in Israel and abroad. Please, Danielle, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Danielle Bitton and I'm the CEO of EDI Energy. In my past, I worked for the high-tech industry as project and product manager in various high-tech companies. In my MBA, I was introduced to my business partner, Adi Levy, who was the COO of Synergy Renewable Energy, and he was my entry ticket to the renewable energy world. Together, we started EDI Energy 3 years ago. We brought new and young spirit to a very old and gray market. Step by step, the company grew beyond every expectation that we had, and today we hold renewable energy assets in Israel and in the United States. As for today, we initiated, financed, built, and connected to the local grid over 40 megawatts of low and high voltage PV systems in the C&I sector, and we're currently working to initiate and build more. Building a good and strong team was vital to scale up our company. I recruited professionals with diverse expertise and a shared passion for the energy industry. Together, we have been able to drive growth and make a positive impact in the sector. While the journey has been challenging, it has also been increasingly rewarding. I've learned to adapt to the ever-changing energy landscape, continuously seeking opportunities for improvement, and staying at the forefront of the industry trend. I'm excited to continue pushing boundaries, creating innovative solutions, and contributing to a more sustainable future through my energy company. I can show you some of our projects. So it's very diverse. You can see the agricultural sector. We also have some floating solar systems in the industry sector as well. I think that's it now.
Thank you, Danielle. We will get back to you with more questions coming up. So our next speaker would be Maayan As, which is the Director of Energy Storage at Nufar Energy. Maayan, if you can tell us about yourself and how you end up leading the global storage at Nufar Energy, and walk us through your experience in the storage market in the UK, which we are very interested to hear about. Please, Maayan.
Happily. So I'll share a quick presentation, although I start with talking about myself. As pleasure meeting you all. My name is Maayan As. Historically, I used to be a lawyer, but in the past 10 years, I've spent working in various sectors of the energy industry. Started my career at Task, which is a management consulting company that I bet most of you are familiar with. It's one, if not the leading Israeli consulting company in the energy sector. After working there for approximately 4 years, managing many energy storage, energy sector strategic project, I've done a shift directly to the energy storage realm and started working with Ogwind, which is I would say probably one of the most known Israeli energy storage company due to its story. It's essentially a startup company with a big promising solution that went out to the market with a big promise. And at the time, approximately 2 years ago, we had a dream to take that quite unique technology and implement it for pilots globally. So I worked there for 1.5 years, leading the global business development, the international business development, mostly working with US-based, Californian and New York based utility companies that were observing the technology to implement it as long duration energy storage pilot in their areas. After 1.5 years, as I assume some of you or most of you know, the company sort of folded back to R&D stage due to some issues and more needed development with the product. At that stage, I personally realized that business development probably won't be the forefront of the company in the coming months. Luckily, I was offered to join Nofar, which is not only the first company to implement energy storage in Israel, with the first 2 behind-the-meter projects in Nir Yitzhak and Shoval, 2 kibbutz, small settlements in Israel, and have been operating in the past 2 years, but also a leading global energy storage developer, holding and developing the largest UK energy storage project, and with many projects along the pipeline. Me personally in Nofar as the leader or director of the energy storage sector, I'm working a lot with all of our platforms globally to basically drive forward and implement energy storage. And that could be from basically sitting in investment decision committees and supporting the techno-economical decision-making of which project. I think it was Roni that talked about it, Roni, sorry, talked about it before. What size of project are we planning to build? What will be the duration of the project? What will be the augmentation plan of the project? So all of these decisions are being supported by me and my team, each one of my team for its relevant territory. Alongside with that, what I do is work to shift knowledge from our platforms in what I would call more developed energy storage markets, such as the US and the UK, to markets that are now evolving. One example would be the Israeli market, in which we obviously were quite active. So we met with both regulators and grid operators, but also in other countries that we're active in, such as Greece, Romania, where we also had the opportunity either to present or meet with regulators and policymakers to support what I would call correct development of energy storage markets or of electricity market to support the development of an energy storage. So that's in a nutshell what my team here in Nofar, the energy storage team, is focused in. Few words about Nofar in case you're not familiar with. So Nofar Energy is a global IPP with activities across 9 countries globally, both US, UK, and Israel, and pan-European countries such as Poland, Greece, Romania, and more. The company is, I would say, up to speed with large-scale both solar and storage projects developed across Europe and Israel and US. In terms of storage, I can say that the company has taken a decision 2 years ago to make the storage product or sector as one of its leading growth engines. And you can see that basically we have now we're getting over 1 gigawatt hour of energy storage in what I would call progressed development stages, including that larger project in the UK that I mentioned before, but also vast CNI activity here in Israel, substantial amount of large-scale projects in Greece, also I would say several or tens of projects being developed in the US, also in the CNI sector under our local platform over there. And other countries, as mentioned before, we're driving forward both regulation and development on the same time. You can see that all in all, in the energy storage realm, we are currently in development of over 5 gigawatt hours of energy storage. Most of these projects, by the way, when we talk about non-Israeli countries, they tend to be shorter duration, around 2 hours duration projects to maximize the value and what I would call revenue stacking within the for the energy storage system. We can then talk about it in a minute when we touch the UK market, but I think it's interesting to note that as opposed to the Israeli market, where the regulator had defined for now at least, for co-located PV plus storage project had defined the duration that they think is needed, quite similarly to California, but on the contrary to any other market in the world. In other markets in the world, the development and penetration of energy storage has driven from more shorter duration storage to allow energy storage essentially the flexibility of choosing where to operate rather than be reliant on mostly energy storage, energy arbitrage and energy trading as the source of revenue. I personally think this is one of the key barriers for entry of more energy storage projects here in Israel. The lack of flexibility, market-driven, economic-driven decision-making and of course, competition in the Israeli market, or open markets. Not competition exists in the Israeli market, luckily. Probably my colleagues from other companies and institutional investors could definitely say it. So competition is not lacking, but open markets for electricity is definitely something that is lacking in the Israeli market. I'll go to the not only to the UK example, but I'll talk slightly more about the UK. So what you can essentially see in that slide is how diverse is the revenue mix expected for BESS, which is battery energy storage systems, across the globe in comparison to Israel. So the Israeli example is a behind the meter example. And that's why basically what you see here is the one source that I talked about before, energy trading, alongside with demand response, which is essentially I would say a section under the Israeli regulation that allows consumers to basically disconnect themselves from the grid at certain hours of high demand and receive payment for it. That's a classic behind the meter type of service. There are similar services that could be achieved for a front of the meter asset, but they're not currently exist as markets or products in Israel. And then you can basically visually see quite clearly how diverse and how much variety there are in the revenue sources in other markets. What you can also see is that yellow, which is the wholesale market or arbitrage trading of energy, takes a very small portion, if any, within the revenue stack of other countries. Now, the reason for it is because there are better opportunities in other markets, but even if if the opportunities in other markets weren't as good, such as the UK market, still the option to have diversity in revenue stream and flexibility, which is, I would say, the most significant trait of energy storage compared to other assets, which are either non-dispatchable or dispatchable, but only in one direction generation. That flexibility allows energy storage asset to choose their best strategy, and hence to basically support investment decision making by knowing that for sure, even though it's a fully merchant market and you're not secured by any CFD feed-in tariff or PPA, you can still get your desired, I would say, reasonable return for such assets.
Mayan, yeah. 1 minute, please.
Yeah. So I'm just, I'll finish with one very, small and relevant example from the UK market. The UK market, the National Grid ESO 2 years ago have developed a product which is called Dynamic Containment. This is a frequency support ancillary services product which was directly aimed towards batteries. All of its participation rules were allowing battery to participate over the expense of conventional assets. That product was a main and key driver to the situation we see in the UK market today, where actually the demand for energy storage and the supply for energy storage projects is neck to neck and getting achieved. And my personal opinion is, for future and more development of energy storage, the Israeli both regulator and grid operator should also take and I would say implement such similar regulation to support a faster development of energy storage and not just to wait for the market to do its own. So that's my take.
Thank you very much, Maayan. And I promise we'll get back to the regulatory part. All right, so moving forward, I would like to present Roy Kainan, Head of Energy Storage at Energix. Roy, if you can please elaborate on how Energix deal with storage resource, lithium, the technological development, and the growing EV demand, which affects everything. Please.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here. Such a lucrative panel of speakers. So I will start a little bit about myself. So I have a diverse background. I did not come from the renewables originally. I started as a capital market lawyer in a law firm called Seligman. Right now it's merged with Goldfarb, Gross. So it's one of the well-known law firm in Israel, done mainly IPOs. After almost 3 years, I've decided to do a shift into the business world. It was back then the recession, so the capital market was a bit winding down. And then I got the opportunity to join UBS, the Swiss bank, and to help them to tap the Israeli private banking market. At that time, there was no presence of private banking in Israel, just a representative office. So I've joined them basically as the project manager of the fully fledged advisory office in Israel, and spent there 8 years in different strategic positions. From business strategy, I was the long arm of the group strategy in Israel. Did some work which is, I think, similar to what Maayan described previously, which is more management consulting, helping the management to expand revenue. So in all of my career, I had the privilege and the luck to do an impact on organizations. After 8 years, I moved to Clicktel, which is a customer experience analytic company, a startup that were sold to Content Square, the French huge high-tech company. Also spent there some time in helping management and the CEO to actually to optimize revenues, and did some cross-functional initiatives. And after Clicktel, I took a while, I make a pause, and actually decided to develop my own management consulting firm. So I was had my own management consulting business. I did some projects in the food and beverage industry, and also in few startups. And at that time, I've decided that I would like to focus on companies. And I know it will sound romantic and sticky, but I decided to focus on companies that do good for the planet. And this is how I ended up with Energix. Luckily, they were very open to have me, and I started as a pure business development, looking on new initiatives and new territories. And by then, it was more than 2 years ago, we've decided on the business development to look on storage. So I did all the research and strategize that exciting world. And I will share some of the insights in a minute. So Energix is one of the biggest renewable companies in Israel. It established in 2009. We are a subsidiary of one of the biggest real estate groups in Israel called Aloni Hetz. We are traded in Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. We went public in 2011. We're part of the 35 biggest company index, approximately market cap around 6.5 billion shekels. We're active in the solar and windmill operations. We have a strong footprint. The headquarters is in Israel, but we're highly active in PJM, in the US, in Virginia area, and in Poland. The vision is to become a global green utility. We're about to get there in terms of scale, and of course, committed to our future on the planet. This goes without saying. I think that everybody who is in this call can share the same view. In terms of the pipelines, so we have a huge storage pipeline of around 7 GWh. Most of it is in the US, but our strategy is basically, even though that the US and other markets like the UK are more developed, we are actually gaining the knowledge on the headquarters, and this is basically the project that are being under construction, almost 300 MWh and more 150 MWh, which is in advanced development stage. Those will be in Israel. We are developing PV plus storage under PPA with a private off-taker. And we already have commercially operated the project of almost 900 megawatt in all of our territories, and we expect to cross the 1 giga until the end of next year. I wanted to touch on a very, I think those are global trends or main drivers that affects not only Israel. I mean, it's relevant to Israel, it's relevant for the US, it's relevant for the UK. And when we actually started to develop our knowledge in the energy storage space, so it was in a very challenging area with the COVID and so on. So we did it by analyzing trends and market dynamics and so on. So I think that going forward, we have 3 main. There is more, but those are really the mega trends that actually drive the battery storage industry. One of them is the technology. If we're looking at the technology evolution and the expectation towards the end of the decade, it's not secret that we are the stationary storage is like a sidekick of the EV industry. And the technology is mainly focusing within the short term until 2026 of improvements on the EV, meaning have more energy density, be more lighter, and also improve the safety of batteries. And everybody's talking about the solid state battery that is going to actually roll out from the mid of the decade and is going to be here until the end of the decade. Expectations, and nobody really knows who will be the next companies that are going to disrupt this, to come up with new technology. I know that there is a lot of work being done, not on a scale that they can actually serve utility, but there is a lot of R&D going on. Until probably the end of the decade, towards the end of the decade, we're probably going to see divergence in cell chemistry. Right now, everybody's speaking about LFP, also in EVs, but was mainly on stationary storage. We think that LFP cell chemistry will dominate until the end of the decade. The decade gives a good value for money, and it's safe for use. But we might see divergence in terms of cell chemistry. Right now, LFP and nickel, cobalt, magnesium, those 2 different cell chemistries are highly reliant on lithium. And as you know, lithium market was very volatile during the COVID times. And we can see that extractions of lithium are available in Australia and South America, but eventually the refinement of lithium is heavily done in China. More than 60% is heavily done in China, and it's drive European players in France, in Portugal to extract lithium and to develop also refinement capabilities. The US also are incentivized due to the Biden administration also to develop their own supply chain of raw materials. So I think this is something that we're going to see in the mid and long term, because it takes time to extract lithium and refine it, but we will see expand of the supply side of the equation. On the demand side,
Roy, 1 minute, please.
Sure. On the demand side, the lithium demand is boosting by the EV adoption, and expectation of the S-curve is that it's going to be stagnated towards the end of this decade. Unfortunately, now we are competing on the same resources of lithium, and I think that when we will see new technologies comes into play, like direct lithium extractions, we will see some ease on the supply of lithium, and it will be more easy to play. So I think that the bottom line is that there is a lot of trends going on, but in terms of key parameters of battery storage, we won't see major improvements until the end of the decade. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roy. I'm super excited to hear our next speaker, Chen Levin, Product Engineering Manager at Sparkion. Sparkion has developed two super interesting technologies in a very future-y and the most, I would say, interesting things going on in the industry now in terms of EMS and Second Life. So please, if you can lead us through what you do and what are the challenges that you're facing.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm happy to be here, and I will explain a bit about what Sparkion is doing. It's a bit different from the other companies that's presented here. We are an R&D company, and we develop two products. I will explain it a bit later. So we sit in Herzliya in Israel. We are 35 employees, and we founded about 4 years ago. Last year, we were acquired by a big US company called Vontier, and they acquired two Israeli companies, us and Drives. Drives developed a software platform for EV chargers. Most of you probably know them, and we offer our products together to the same clients, and that's why they purchased both of us, because we have the same customers. So the two products that we are developing, we call them the Spark Switch and the Spark Core. Spark Switch is a piece of hardware that we already have a few patents on it, and its goal is to help in Second Life battery energy storage system that are based on on Second Life batteries. And in Second Life batteries, there is a big problem that the battery modules has different state of health. So basically with this PCB, the Spark Switch, we can actually bypass the worst module, and then the whole string will operate with better energy capacity and better throughput. Our second product is called the Spark Core. It's basically a PC, and we have on it our software, our energy assets on site, or unmanaged loads, and it brings a few financial benefits to the customer. that any actually storage system can offer, but our EMS actually enables it if it's ancillary services like Maayan said, or energy arbitrage, reduced demand charges, and the power assist for the EV chargers. And okay, and I will talk now about the second life batteries. So as you probably know, when a battery in EV reach between 70 to 80% of energy capacity, it can no longer be used in the EV because of the range of the car. No one wants to drive an EV that cannot drive at least 400 kilometers. So then it usually need to be to send to disposal or to recycling. We offer another route before recycling to use it for energy storage. And as Roy explained earlier, there are many problems with the supply of batteries today because of lithium. There's not enough lithium in the world, so we offer to use the batteries from EVs longer for energy storage. And right now, the EV manufacturer has a priority on battery storage manufacturers, and I think they have priority on the lithium and batteries. And I think that energy storage market, it will enable, using second life batteries will enable to reduce the price of energy storage systems significantly, and then they could be used in much more sites in all over the world. So as I explained earlier, a battery system works like a chain. So the weakest link in the chain actually affects the whole string of batteries. So if there is only one module that has a really low state of health because it was used more, it saw a higher temperature and stuff like this, there are many parameters that affect the state of health of the battery. Then the whole system will the whole system functionality will degrade, and our solution, our SparkSys, just enables us to bypass, to skip this specific module, and then the whole energy capacity of the system is improved. So that slide explains actually what we are doing. If there are a few modules in the system that have a lower state of health, we just skip them, and then we can actually charge or discharge the system to continue charging, discharge the system, and extract more energy from the batteries. And so conventional storage, the up case, the worst cell in the string, make all the battery system works worse, and we install our solution on each module in the string, and then only this specific module, here it's module 2, so module 2 is limited. It cannot extract more energy if it's get to the minimal voltage of discharging, and if it's get to the top voltage for that it stop charging the batteries, it also will affect only module 2, but the other modules will continue to charge and discharge simultaneously. And by this, we can actually get more energy from the batteries and improve the number of cycles that our system can offer. Our second product is the SparkCore. We install it inside our BSS systems, and it enables to bring a few revenue streams to the clients, whether it's ancillary services, mostly in the Nordics. We have already a few projects in Norway and Sweden where the ancillary services market is much more, is basically the most progressed in the world. So there our EMS offer also these solutions, but we also can play on the energy arbitrage and to reduce demand charges for the client. And yeah, that's basically our products. And I will be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chen. Thank you very much.